Okay, guys, ready?
Hi,
Yeah.
hello, Radio Tulum Nation. I am so excited and utterly blessed to have two of my closest friends, as if I've known them forever. One of them I've known for a while, and one of them I met forever just a couple of days ago. This is Ava, and this is Roberto.
Thank you.
Welcome to Radio Tulum, and we are very excited as Roberto comes and talks to us every year, and he's back. Last year we did the Awake show, and I want to just turn it over to this human person who has been dedicated his existence to a cause that will help us all, that we're not noticing, which is called Restore Coral, or restoring the coral reef back to its health. And of course, as you know, the coral reef is extremely damaged. And I'm going to let Roberto explain what's happening. Roberto,
Thank you.
how are you?
Thank you very well, Mandip, and thank you again for the hospitality that you have always provided to us, to our project, as many other good friends from the region, the wonderful team who's been supporting this goal, this purpose, as you mentioned. And we basically engage randomly pretty much, but I would like to call it like a synchronicity moment in which we were pointing out in implementing social innovation technology towards the climate action effect. And little that I knew that the Mexican coral reef plays such an important role in the global ecosystem as seagrass, mangroves, and coral reefs provide an effect on the climate balance, which is pretty much capturing 75%, I'm sorry, 25% of the carbon dioxide that is on the atmosphere. And also,
I want to just stop. I mean, how important is that fact? It's, that 25, we often think up and we don't think down. I think that that's a very, just to reiterate, that 25% of the carbon dioxide is being absorbed by the coral.
it's not only the coral; it's the entire system.
The entire
Even
system,
the
I'm
big
sorry.
whales has a role to play by when they move in the water and the plankton goes up and they feed from it. That plankton in the water also generates photosynthesis and oxygen is liberating. So one thing is what the ocean does in terms of capturing carbon dioxygen from the atmosphere, which the conservative numbers are 25%. There is other figures, but we don't want to be too alarmist, even if it's alarmist enough. Okay, but also 70% of the world oxygen is generated in the water, in the oxygen. I mean, in the water
So
and with the corals and with the underwater ecosystem.
I'm sorry I
Mhm.
mean, it's fascinating to me that what the world makes us perceive, it's the rainforests that provide most of the oxygen, yet it's higher on the water side.
Yeah, but it's only natural. You know, trees are very easy to see, and I think there is a lot of material broadcasted about the Amazonia and the natural heritage, also the cultural heritage that comes from the Amazon.
Land. Land.
And I'm telling you, like the whole program is based on the protection and restoration of the biocultural heritage. This is a very important thing because culture and nature they have developed together as well. And in this region, in the Mexican Caribbean, it's a very important thing to recognize. I mean, there is an entire untangible culture from the oceans that the Mayans, that the people from this region, they were already in touch with it, and they can generate all kinds of rituals and experience related to the ocean. So they had this understanding of this balance, of these uh, currents going from one place to the other, connecting the whole. Okay, of course we are just limited maybe in this area where even the stars look amazing. So there was a lot of meditation or deep thinking around this environment, and that came out culture. Uh, and specifically with the coral reef, we have to understand that. Imagine like when you listen, let's protect the jaguar. The jaguar is a prime species. and they live in extensive territory. So if you protect the jaguar, you ended up protecting many others. But the most charismatic creature will be the jaguar, not the, I don't know, another wild animal, but it's maybe as important as the other one. The corals contain and sustain the life of 2.5 million species.
Right.
2.5 million species that goes from the tiny one to the crustaceans to the big fish that we ended up having dinner.
Yeah, or it actually could be the bacteria that actually formed us. If you want to go that deep. But
I mean, totally. If we are honest with the understanding of evolution, we're gonna go all the way back into water.
exactly.
You know, I mean, it is a fact. We,
Stromatolites.
Yeah.
stromatolites. That's a great topic. Thank you for bringing it out because we did a lot of effort, and we wish we could do more. But on the layer in which we are, that is 3 years of the innovation plus innovation plus innovation period. You know, we're really pursuing new approaches to coral reef restoration. We start with protection, natural protected areas. Then we had to move into restoration because the Mexican coral reef has lost 75% of the density of the reef. That means from the expansion and the growth, 75% of that has gone down.
Wow.
This is 3 years ago numbers, okay?
It's because of the pH of water.
Because of the pH of water, because of the climate, the change of the temperature of the water, it generates hydric stress, and the bleaching begins. And
Of course,
And
the
all
tourism.
the engines,
Tourism.
engines, resonance.
tourism is one of the highest impact on carbonization. So we also need to aim on how can we decarbonize tourism, and it's pretty much in mobility. You know, 13 million tourists going into the season. That's why we decided to take these actions on the season. We want to come over to Tulum, to the wonderful Tulum, first of all, because the very declaration of Tulum, which is a presidential agreement done in 1997 by the President Cedillo and their president from the other countries, Belize, Honduras, and Guatemala, that are the guardians of the Mesoamerican Reef, which is the second largest ecosystem underwater, okay? In this region and going down into Colombia, we are talking about 4 million square kilometers of underwater ecosystem, people living on the coast, you know, living out of and the tourism right there. So the reality is that the bad habits of tourism, bless you, brother.
Oh, pardon me. What he says is truth, as the Jewish culture would tell you.
The very presence of a human being that feels fragmented, like not connected to the place, to the land, to the water, to the life, it generates something what you can easily qualify as an schizophrenic behavior.
Yeah. I have a question. You've been at this now for
4 years.
4 years, and why don't you give us a progress report as to what's been happening on the restoration?
Super. I think we since the beginning we focus on interacting with four pillars: public sector, private sector, civic society, and the academia. So we had basically a family fund in which we decided to take action and do it when we really realized the magnitude of what it means to lose the base, the ground of an entire ecosystem that is so connected with everything else. And this little process basically got us into, okay, how can we address this topic? We cannot take more people in the water, unfortunately. I wish I can take everybody to see it for themselves, being underwater and see it like you see a forest, And that's why, coming back in your previous question, forests are more popular, jungles are more popular because it's right there.
Right.
But how can you take I mean, only 1.4% of the world
Dives.
dives. People from here from the region, locals, don't
They
die.
don't even haven't. Some the kids haven't even been to the sea. Actually.
There are some places where they can no longer get in the beach,
Yeah.
and that is also another issue that needs to be addressed. How we call it in Spanish tejido social, the social
Network.
network that has to be with the foreigners, with the privileged Mexicans, and with the local people. You cannot develop a location only in tourism when you don't develop the society.
Of course.
And then you have nutrition issues that we have witnessed. There is so much glutamato.
And also the glutamate and corn, GMO corn, and
So it's a way extended issue. I mean, we walk in trying to save corals. We ended up making politics and making social programs. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna. I know that the University in Puerto Morelos is working on creating coral,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
I mean,
totally.
I think you also helped fund some more money
Yes,
their
yes,
way,
yes.
and this was a crucial find that we can actually make coral and start to replace the coral.
Correct.
How is this technology working, and how is that? Is that starting to move forward? Are we actually starting to rebuild the coral?
Yes, we are. I'm sorry for. I'm gonna take one step backwards
Sure,
and,
sure.
and say, in terms of. First, we map all the existing technologies and methodologies that it was available online. So that was big data intelligence, activated to just get information as many places as we can, and so we create a knowledge base.
Yeah.
Then we identify which were the more effective solutions and which ones can provide biggest
that's
impact
great.
in the shortest amount of time and with the less amount of effort. So we put all these technologies together and we came out with what we would like to call a smart reef technology.
Oh.
Because it's not only making coral restoration but also enhances the speed up because it takes years to grow it in the natural life.
Of course.
So this is something that we've been doing as well of lobbying in the public sector. We identify the election time running candidates, and we present an initiative called One Vote, One Coral, which may basically translate into a commitment to plant one coral colony for each vote that the candidate
So
got.
political arm of the yeah.
I mean, if we pitch it as a political marketing strategy, because of course there is people who are close to the ocean, locals who actually live here. But you only need 260,000 votes in this state to become the mayor. I'm sorry, the governor.
250,000?
260,000,
That's nothing.
nothing. So imagine.
Excuse me.
260,000 votes can
Let's
put
make a festival.
the governor in the top of the executive power of the state,
That's funny.
and you have 13 million tourists on the season.
So of course you do you have in this part you have to do a political arm and give them the credit. You have to go to the
Exactly.
fucking corporate sector and say, shut up and give me your
Exactly,
money. You're making a
exactly.
shitload of it. And
Without,
then you go
without
to the
aggression,
public and
no,
actually
without aggression, because
No,
honestly,
I'm not being aggressive. I'm just saying that those are all the different places
yes,
that you're
correct.
going.
So I was talking about how we influence the public sector.
Yes, let's talk
So
about
this strategy that it was replicated as One Vote, One Tree that happens in Spain with Zapatero, and they actually reforest the green corridor in the Spanish area.
Yes.
Exactly the same. Actually, Jose Lindo Solid, one of the founders of this project as well, the co-founder, he was the guy behind that strategy. So we have a little bit of that know-how from Europe, from Spain, and we implement it here. And this basically create not only the federal program of coral restoration in the Mexican Caribbean, but an
That's
entire
fantastic.
political trend.
Yes.
This commitment of 6,240,000 units of coral that now is in charge in Apesca, the Mexican fish, the academic arm of the Ministry of Environmental and Ecology of Mexico.
Fantastic.
And they got 2 million pesos on top for the work, and they have a little bit more room and resources to work They have one lab in Puerto Morelos with Dr. Anastasia, who has provided also, we certify Dr. Germán Mendez from the Cozumel Coral Restoration Program that we have operating there. I mean, it's in Cozumel for many reasons. One of them is that the entire economy runs around the coral reef. It's not like Tulum that you come to the beach or you come to the beautiful dancing and experiences, the hedonic world. So how we did this based on the Tulum Agreement, that it was this presidential agreement, 1997, that explains the value of the reef and action that must be taken. And then in 2006, this document was renovated. So I had two presidential, you know, documents that says, hey guys,
Move your ass.
let's start to work because it's urgent. And they look at me a little bit, like not so much of, corporate environmentalist or something, more like innovation, blah, blah. It was complicated in the beginning, but little by little we opened doors, we went to the right people, and the candidate, Carlos Joaquin Gonzalez, he win the election, he publicly commit on his campaign, and 100 days in charge, he generated the commitment with the federal authorities of Semarnat and INAPESCA. So CONAM, the National Commission of Protected Areas, and the Mexican Institute of Fisheries. So that's how we intervene on the public sector. We generate this commitment based on these agreements, presidential agreements. Now we look forward to have President Enrique Peña Nieto in the 10th of March, which is the international, the Day of the Mesoamerican Reef. This was part of the second presidential agreement. And so maybe what we want to present is the Paris Agreement commitments that Peña Nieto made with the Tulum Agreement together, and make a nice combo for the next administration to execute, because we are also going to have elections. And we're working with the Senate, with the Senadora Luz Maria Beristain, which is the senator for the state of Quintana Roo, to exhort an intensification of the coral reef restoration efforts around the state and hopefully around the whole country, because as we said, it's one system. So in terms of the academic sector, the Mexican university, the Universidad Autónoma de México, the main house of academia in Mexico, they have been very active on sexual reproduction of coral reefs with gametes, and they came out with an amazing system that we also certify, one of the main.
I would like to regress about the sexuality of the corals. Explain that to me a little bit.
It's amazing. It's actually, you gotta go at night. It's like a full moon kind of effect in which the corals literally bloom. This like pollen. I mean, corals are to the ocean as bees are to the land. So you have to capture that, take it into a controlled room in a lab. The only lab like this is in Puerto Morelos. It's a modest lab with brilliant people behind. And we want to install one of those in Cozumel as well, and everywhere we have the program. Okay. And the University of Quintana Roo, the UCRO, has provided us in Cozumel 30 installations for farming coral underwater, which is being done for the last 4 years by our main oceanologist and chief of the program in Cozumel, Dr. Germán Mendez. So we have right now a capacity of 2,000 coral units installed. That's, let's say, private effort or experimentation room. And we also been working with Dr. Tomás Goreu, which is an international visionary on shore protection and coral restoration, who has an amazing technology called BioRock that has been proved and validated by the United Nations. It's been proved that you can use this structure to speed up and provide better conditions to coral and make it grow faster and actually improve the quality of the water where the structure is. We add some innovation like wave power and a circulation system for cooling, when the temperature is necessary. So yes, we are working with many academics. It's important to have that solid background behind. and he's an advisor for the UN in many fields. So we have the community of artists also very interested, excited about creating shapes and forms that can be attributed to the ocean, and it can generate life and benefits. So we want to have that in Tulum as well, in the whole Caribbean, smart reef sculptures that the international tourism can participate by planting one little coral in an amazing form, and they can feel like they're doing an apportation to it, and that's one part of the program. Make it self-sustainable, because the whole charity thing is not gonna work. Yeah. So the idea is also to access to the climate change economy, because there's going to be major funding towards coral restoration. This year, 2018, is the International Year of the Reef, and ocean action is going to be the number one priority of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, protecting the water. That is so important, because finally they start to getting like suddenly they were focusing on one problem, but this symptom is from a deeper root.
Yeah.
And so that's how we are also activating academia, and we are now engaging with the Instituto Tecnológico de Estudios Superiores de Monterrey and ITESO, like two more universities who are basically they're going to start working with us in many fields, including bringing more innovation, and we're going to get way better in marketing, I'm sure. But yeah,
Is it exponential? I mean, we're gonna
yeah,
get to
totally exponential.
you, Eva, in a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the growth process
Exponential, yeah,
exponential?
definitely.
Yeah, awareness is thriving through the network, so people are more and more aware of what is happening in different like guilds and.
I was
sectors.
talking more physical. I was
No,
talking
yes.
about the restoration.
Yes, yes, yes.
What Puerto Morelos is doing. If that is exponential, and if the growth, the 2,000 meters that you have so far.
Let's be very clear on that, and it's not enough
No, that's
that
what
the
I'm.
government
That's
is
really.
taking that action.
Yeah.
It needs to be engaged also the private sector,
Yes.
and that's what we're doing in this season.
And the daily
We are
impact.
touching bases with what we consider, what we like to call the ethical tourism providers,
Of course.
and there is places like hotels like a How, who have been endorsing our activities, and they make a wonderful event on New Year's, and I happened to meet the chairman on the Bitcoin movement and reality, and also some other blockchain fellows, people from Oceanic, which is an Ibiza foundation. So we met also people from Oceanic, Ibiza Foundation, and I think there's going to be a great landscape to explore, and they were very willing to collaborate, and I hope that in all this wonderful community of innovators and leaders, we can have some walking, moving action, and achieve what we need to have our MVP up and running with the bio-rock structure and everything. And once we have one,
Yeah.
we get from that, the other one is going to get paid, and
Yeah.
those two are going to pay for 4 more, and those 4 are going to pay for 4 more, and 8, and
Replicate.
and it's exponential growth. And we gotta try it. We gotta try it. It's super important. So if we have academia, public sector, and private sector, already joint venturing in this, the common citizen can come over to the Caribbean, come from Tulum to Cancun to Playa del Carmen, and take the opportunity to plant one coral and leave something positive behind. We are also working on blockchain technology ourselves to secure that money goes directly to ocean action, to coral restoration. And this includes the stromatolites, the grandparents of the corals, who have an amazing genetic information, and we have to keep that. Today, this week, we've been sharing awareness on the most well-known events of of the season. That was what our budget allowed us to do. We hope that we can do way more, but I believe it's not about us doing more, but everybody doing a little, and
Right.
then aiming to decarbonize tourism. And also, I want to take the opportunity to thank Eva and invite her to share an idea that it came right on time. I mean, really, she addressed a concept in which water is one, and that's how we need to see things. So, please, Eva.
Eva, darling, please tell us how to be one with water.
Thank you for inviting me for this amazing conversation that I can understand more deeply how things are working underneath water. And yes, the point in my perspective is that if if you look at things straight on, you realize that we are really small, but we believe we are huge because we perceive ourselves separate from everything. But basically, if we go far, far away in the space, you will see Earth that is just one creature. It's green and brown, and it has holes, and inside those holes there is water. So if you see that fact as a fact it is, you will realize that water is all over the place, and it's in the moisture, it's in ether, has a lot of water that goes through you and out of you, and that's happening all the time. And water is just one thing that has different states, but it's just one thing. So I like to point that with kids and people to take water as one creature that has a lot of shapes, like a dragon that has feathers in the head and has big teeth, and we call the teeth iceberg because we are really tiny. And the veins in the tummy, they are the rivers, and the other parts are the lakes, but we are so tiny that we perceive that creature fragmented because of the perceptive system we use are based in mental images. So we've been taught mental images that describe water fragmented, when it's really funny that you see it and they say, oh, you have to learn that this river is Mississippi and that river is Thamesis. And it's like, man, water is moving, and you say that from here to here has this name and from here to here has another name, but I just see water moving, and the same water gets in a cloud and comes back and goes all over the place and underneath, and you call it cenote, and then you call it ocean, and then cloud, and then snow, and it's like, man, there's no separation. It's just that look at your perceptive system because it's telling you things that they are not existing at all. So basically, I'm sharing with creators perspective of how to perceive wholeness as united it is. But basically, if you want to get water apart from Earth, it's pretty easy to understand that water is just one creature. So by developing images that allows people to understand that fact and recover sense, because even if we've been taught all the coast and rivers and oceans and lakes and geography fragmenting one being, you can get rid of that and realize that water is all over the place and is alive. So it's moving and it has rhythms, and it's a being that it takes care of itself, passing through the corals, passing through Amazon forest and raining back. And so I'm gathering people. I'm just having the pleasure and the honor to meet all these people doing their best and trying with a lot of effort to let water be respected. So there's people like Gaia Amazonas Foundation that they are putting 20 million hectares together of reserve to respect the entire north of Amazon River, because they believe that this is the relevant thing. And then I met Maori people going to the oldest lakes on volcanoes there in New Zealand, blessing water there in those sacred lakes, really needing that Mother Earth heals itself. So I have the honor to meet you and see your amazing work and audio development using virtual reality technology to develop awareness and
Empathy.
empathy and understanding, just changing the perception, getting closer. And I invite everyone to challenge their perceptive system that we use now, because if we develop sensitivity and we get back in the skin and we put the attention to feel our skin in the toes and in the soil of, and in the legs and in the chest, and get back to the skin and get in peace and get in water, inside water in peace, and treat water in a peaceful state, we can help water because it has memory. And that's not something crazy, because there is still some tribes in South America that they can read water and tell you where this water went, and they totally understand that water gets memory, and she crystallized different, as this Japanese researcher did discover many years ago. So
The impression of thought,
yeah,
and music and sound in water.
intention.
And when you really understand that as a being of 75% water,
Breathing water.
and in a world of 75% water, and how all these life forms came out of water, and how, or
And that the water is
Cognitive
always
Well,
the
it could have
same
come
water.
from Mars, okay? The rocks that landed in the water.
It is just
But that
one
was
water.
because of water.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's just
Even
the same water all the time since life started on Earth. There's no other water. It's just one water turning around and around and around from the first moment that Earth started having water. So, and it's just moving constantly. So by freeing the perception of water fragmented, we can free creators for them to develop devices and applications and games and toys that shares that understanding that is a fact, there is a need, an urgent need for people to respect their water, the water of the entire earth, not buying a lake, a house in a lake because it's cool, and I put a factory that destroys water really far in another country.
And
because
this is
it's
what
far.
you see here, because you actually have titans of the industry coming over to this very region and say, hey, this is wonderful, we want to help, we want to do something, and then everybody gets too much into the having fun of the place, and concrete action is not moving. And concrete action is translated pretty much today in financement. Unfortunately, we still live in this finance situation context world.
And freeing creators.
So the creator's approach is super relevant. I mean, we all here big believers and support, not believers, we are witness. We know as a fact that art and culture can activate human consciousness. That's why also historical has that artistic approach. I mean, yes, we present a virtual reality experience, but this virtual reality experience is an out of space journey, and you see the world as a whole. And that's what the astronauts, when they go out of the
Exactly.
planet,
There's a whole.
they get a momentum
Yeah.
when they realize that the planet is just one thing, and
Yeah.
all these borders,
There's
all
no
these
boundaries.
All
lanes,
this,
boundaries, fragmentation
it's
is
human
an
all
illusion.
this thought training.
Exactly. So, by the way, we're working also with the Mexican Space Agency. We're bringing the astrobiology approach to analysis of coral reef, and comparing life on space, coral, check what's up, and also monitoring the areas. We need to find a way to check out how's the progress, how's the health of the reef. So monitoring
Satellites.
is what we are activating. And we did 70
And mapping
murals.
would be-
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Mapping, scanning the ocean agency, who
All the aquifer.
came out with a brilliant documentary called Chasing the Coral that I highly recommend that
Yeah.
everybody watches. Maybe we're gonna project it here in Radio Tulum as well.
For sure.
And well, they came out with a global plan that includes taking the gametes and freeze it on the lab just in case, because there is a market of corals. The very house of Hernan Cortés, the big conqueror of Mexico, his house is basically made of stones, mud like barro, and a whole bunch of massive coral. Looks like a spaceship. So imagine, anyway, there was like massive coral available at that period of time.
So-
Then, I'm sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm interpreting.
And we have Jose Alberto Torres, aka Frase, who is a muralist here in Mexico, and he does amazing graffiti and everything. It's not so ecological, maybe, but we managed to have a very efficient mural campaign from the Caribbean to the Pacific, 70 murals all over the country. It was an amazing job. I mean, and I'm so grateful that he actually put that on March. Um, and that is also another part of it. And our awareness booth that we came with a beautiful art of Laura Napolitano. It was our frame for the coral restoration, and I want to thank also to Lumar Club who lent me
Absolutely.
the piece. We're good friends, Alfonso, and from Ahau people that gave this beautiful endorsement to us this year. Of course, right to Loom and La Boheme that has been amazing with us always. And we did our humble effort to remain present and sharing awareness on this. And now we're moving to get the proper financement through a blockchain platform that can secure the transaction and the end of the funding that we hope to get from the climate change economy, the climate action economy. And yes, I mean it's going to be the International Year of the Reef, and we're going to be as active as we can. We would like to collaborate on the tool, on the virtual reality experience that will, when you want to talk about with someone and he really needs to be in a mindset of we are one, this is one planet, we come from the same water, we're gonna end up in the same water, and maybe we are in this generation, maybe we can feel so good about being part of the ones who are saving, regenerating, allowing evolution to happen, or just be of those who neither don't do or just they thought too much about actually moving into it. And even if they don't want to support an already existing platform like Restore Coral that looks to collaborate with all the coral restoration, not only in Mexico but worldwide. But in Mexico we have 13 million tourists can be the force of restoration. That is a great difference between the Australian reef.
But why? I mean, I know you're already going to the political route. Why not? I don't know, 10 pesos, 5 peso tax.
Yes.
I'm just asking. I'm saying there's
The goal is
at least a bigger question. Let's say, we get the corporations on board, or if money finances came into this picture, and we doubled the funding of 5 times the funding for Puerto Morelos. How do you see coral in 5 years, or 10 years, or 30 or 20 years? Are they on the climb up, or are they what's?
Right now they're on the climb down.
Okay, so they're still
We're
going down. We're going down.
Yeah. Badass. It can make you sad.
In the last 3 years, how far down? What's the percentage?
Well,
Has it stopped? So it hasn't even stopped. We haven't even stopped it yet.
no.
We
And,
didn't stop throwing shit to the water, basically.
Yeah.
Excuse
Yeah.
my
Mhm.
Yeah, no, of course not.
And even if every human being right now stopped doing, impact, the consequences of the last 5 years of environmental impact is gonna hit the ocean. That is a reality.
So it's an urgency.
Yeah, so it's an urgency. That's why it's the number one priority of the Sustainable Development Goals. The goal number 14, which is ocean action, preserving life underwater and all the life that is related to life underwater.
It's basic that
So
we feel perception.
it's super basic, and it's important. This is a nice vehicle. I mean, the whole artificial smart reef can really incentivate. I mean, you need the lab in land, you need the underwater farms, you need the bio-rock structure, you need the entire system. But we break down the project in a very efficient way, and now we can pretty much put it in a container and ship it everywhere. Okay, so there is a real chance to be incentivizing coral restoration all over. But of course, that has to be together with an entire plan of decarbonizing tourism. And
Of
anybody who makes profit out of the environment, they need to pay back.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is countries already, and this is something that I'm looking forward to do in our country, keeping going on the lobby on the government part in the federal agenda that we have in election time, which is going to be complicated to bring the conversation up to that because of sometimes the presidency has a very short time goals. You know, you need to think in a more cloud perspective. But in election time this year, we want that anybody who's going to be the next leader of Mexico, he has a commitment for biocultural integrity and social justice. Because and also diving has to be experienced, but we cannot take more people into the water. So please take a virtual reality dive so you don't harm it and you become aware of this. And we want to finance our smart reef technology as well. It's a $250,000 project in which it's a state of the art with collaboration with the Burning Man community of artists and local, Mexican artists. And this structure will pay itself and it will generate enough budget for another one, and we will secure the whole thing with blockchain technology. And we are creating vehicles for the climate change economy. You can donate to the program.
Oh my God! Excuse me.
So
I'm on water.
You can donate from there.
You can donate to the program. We have a partnership with an international 501, with an American 501, so it's tax deductible and the whole thing.
Oh God, so
See the
sorry, bro.
webpage. See the webpage
Yeah.
specifically.
So it's tax deductible and everything. And we have another impact investment platform in which you can turn money or carbon compensation or social responsibility budget into an investment. So there's no excuses. If you love to participate, you have a way to do it. If you are interested on working in blue economy, sustainable projects and positive impact companies, like companies built to create a positive solution to the world,
And legacy.
there is a platform. We pursued to fulfill our purpose with this legacy, and it's one example of what we can do, what Restore Coral can do, what cognitive expansion might be able to do. And thank you for all the support. Thank you for being here, and everything that you teach is amazing. Thank you to everybody. And yep, let's check. Let's
some
rock
action.
2018. Huh?
Yeah, and
Let's put things together.
Yeah.
Let's make things happen.
I
Otherwise, it's gonna be sad in the coming years.
I honestly urge all those hotels that have this economy to consider what you're a part of, much more than everyday existence and dollars and cents, and how many bookings you have and how many parties you can throw. You're a part of an energy center, you know, that is so. You go back to the first time you came here and why you chose just this being in here.
Yeah.
And the reason why I chose it was because I could feel the axis on which I rotate. I mean, David Garciano says I wouldn't use any shoes. That's why I moved here. Aside from other stuff, go back to that time and realize that it's your responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. You know, if you're going to do yoga and become vegetarians and sell vegan food, the root of all of that is compassion and understanding. You know, and that is not a fad. It is an urgent matter for us to become responsible and together and in touch with the earth that surrounds us, rather than, I'm sorry to use a very dramatic term, but raping it for all of its uses, and disregarding what your responsibility is for excuses or wearing a coat of charity twice a year. It's not enough. It is just not enough, and you know it inside your heart. And I urge you guys to gather together over such a simple thing and something that you use, and I think that's the only way to do it. I don't mean to be so harsh, but we can rise up together for such an important cause.
we do our part. I mean, we understand we have limitations. Of course, with more help, we can do way more.
Yeah,
That
of
is the
course.
reality.
Well,
And
together,
I see
together
exactly,
we can do.
exactly.
Together we
Together
can do.
we can do everything.
If
I guess
children,
That is important.
Excuse me, I will invite everyone to realize that now we are happy, shiny creatures, la la la, let's go do this, let's achieve that. But in 20 years, if we don't take care, we're gonna be like totally destroyed, and the ones who will have to take care of us will be completely sick. So when you are old, because you might become old,
You're gonna be old.
you're gonna be old if you survive
And your
yourself.
children are gonna be upset because
Yes.
you lose the ecosystem.
Just for you to know, you're gonna be with your kids grabbing your neck saying, where will you be smoking or where will you be drinking that you didn't saw nothing, and now we have to live with this mask on and a tube with a filter of 3 things to filter the water that we drink because we can't breathe or drink water. So
Or-
we are gonna leave that if we don't move our ass now.
Nah.
Daily.
or don't think a technology is going to save you either.
No, no,
because
no.
nothing is coming along.
It's implementation of technology.
it's
what
the
what we
im-
Earth is
Exactly.
the latest technology.
Yeah.
We can't multiply it.
Exactly.
But anyway, basically,
But it's
remember that
humanity
you're gonna
first.
grow. Remember that you're gonna keep drinking and breathing when you grow. So be careful what you do, what you're gonna keep drinking 20 years later. Because if you put shit in what you're gonna be drinking 20 years later, that will come back because it's exactly what it takes for coming back
Well,
to
water
your
is a-
tap.
Water
So-
is a large problem also because of the poor, right? The poor that live by waterways, the poor that live by waterways use it for bathroom, use it for washing their
There is
clothes.
people today that
And-
dies out
Just by
of drinking
drinking the
not
water.
a drinkable water.
Man, the
and
notice.
70. That's 70%. I mean, in Indian research, the water is forget it. It's 80%.
These
Here in the cenotes, there's human poo in the
Everywhere.
edge of the cenotes, 400 meters deep
Yeah.
down because of the
Yeah.
hotels.
Yeah.
So by seeing that, that's urgent, and this is right here,
Yeah.
right
And
here.
this is
so
the,
no filters in the
very,
hotel.
the very action of this schizophrenia of fragmentation, because the short-term goal of making a profit out of a development
Exactly.
of a very fancy hotel that it wants to be set up in a paradise area, and you know,
And 200 people poo in one
and,
day
and you
daily.
have no,
Look
no,
at
no,
Acapulco.
hold on, and you have to pay a bribe.
Bribe,
You
yeah.
need to engage in corruption to get the permits to build on that nature. So since that very moment, we are in a problem, and the very wheel of going into that action, when you know perfectly well what is the consequences and what is the ecological impact, because I mean we're a young country, Mexico is young, you know, in this context, but places like the shore of Spain,
Marbella.
Marbella, Mallorca, Menorca, they know for many years what is the effect of tourism in their own island. They know perfectly well what is the impact. So you have big groups of Spanish, let's hope to connect with the responsible ones, because there is people who wants to make things better, and we don't want to put people in the bucket of bad or good or anything, because that's also judgment, and we're not here to judge. We're
No.
here to give everybody an opportunity
To
to become a part of the
Conscious.
solution, to share awareness, become a part of the solution, to take action. We have a platform. I encourage everybody to make their own platform, or to unify and transcend. To unify and transcend.
Hallelujah, brother.
I think-
Unify and transcend. I love that.
The thing is, remember that you are immersed on it. You don't have to
Not
connect.
separated
you,
from it.
You are totally immersed on it, and if you feel the skin,
It's recognition.
you feel
Yeah.
that you're passing through all over, and all over is passing through you. So there's just remember who you are, and that you are inside a creature that is absolutely everlasting, energetically talking, and the things around it is everlasting, resonating energy. So just get back in the skin, guys, and feel from there, and bless water every time you treat her. When you brush your teeth, think something beautiful, and then throw it to the sink, because that beautiful intention will throw all over. And when you have a shower, put intention in the drops of water, and when you drink, put good intention because water reads your intention.
But also you can come over here and plant one coral with us, and you can help us
Absolutely.
And
Uh,
give
draw a
$1 million
concrete
One
action.
coral at a time, baby.
But one coral at a time. Right now we have a production of 2,000 coral units, but Dr. Germán Mendez has made sure to do his work, and he has over 5,000 coral planted by himself. So we invite the federal authorities to catch up and plant those 6 million corals, and we want the majors to get involved, and of course we want the hotel owners, Mr. Emilio Heredia from Papaya Playa, invite us to have our awareness corners, awareness corner in the Woo Moon Party, which is an Ibiza production team, and they, like there is a trend. Also, Mayan Warrior, for example, they made a giving back action to another colleagues on the field of restoration and preservation. And so there is a movement. There is a trend
People
going on. The very successful people, they're asking themselves which is going to be the legacy. So I invite everybody of this region.
Give the legacy to Roberto. I really didn't know what to do because there's a lot of creators waiting for him to pay them and do really amazing
We
work
have
in
an
this.
amazing team of creators ready to jump in action.
Yes.
I want to thank Kano Shop as well, who's been very active. He made a beautiful Xochipilli for Burning Man. We are considering ourselves to have an art piece in Burning Man, only if it's justifying with the investment and the impact, because we really want to focus on putting our energy.
The only
not on-
intention is to free perception in Burning Man users, for them to invest in free perception of creators, that free perception of humanity. So we're going to design something that is worthy to be shared.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thank you. Thank you.
so much, Roberto, Eva. You guys
Hope
are
you're feeling
wonderful
better.
human people. Fight the good fight.
Toro is of light and energy.
Fight the good fight, and it's our responsibility to man, to life, to earth. Our connection is, as Eva would put it, up, out, and down to the earth. And it's all around you. You are a part of this universe, this earth, this water. And don't forget that, and love each other. To do that, be of the intention, be of the consciousness, and always hear love. This is Radio Tulum, and as we always sign out, go out and support your independent voices. These are the voices that are longing to be heard, and those are the voices that are going to set you free. There's love. Exactly.
That's
Like,
it.
please follow us, and our webpage is restorecoral.org, and over there we have an investing and donation button. We're going to have our proposal for the Coral Art Fair. We want to engage Enrique Peña Nieto on the World Ocean Summit. Also, we want to invite the Summit by the Sea, Summit at the Sea people community, who are going to come over here to Tulum, and all those change makers and leaders in their fields to maybe plant a coral. And we're going to be around the world agenda of climate action and the International Year of the Reef. Thank you very much.
Oh,
RestoreCoral.org, and you can look everything over there.